And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Kratz Braun and Erik Kratz with you. Wow. That was a day, especially game one between the Mets and the Braves. But what happened is what many thought would happen. The Mets won game one. Some of you might have thought the Braves would win game one. But then the other team wins the second game, and we have double celebrations going on in Atlanta. The Braves clinching a spot in the postseason, same with the New York Mets. And Kratz, by far the worst day, that belongs to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who were hanging out, watching both games together, packed up, plane fueled up. Plane can fuel down.
I mean, there was a plane ready to go somewhere. They were ready, and that's so tough. It's so tough. I sat in a clubhouse after winning game 163, knowing that we were going to play either the Rockies or I think it was the Cubs. I'm not sure. In the wild card, we were going to play. I couldn't imagine sitting there watching a game with your teammates, knowing that majority of the time, I think it's 54% of doubleheaders get split, but knowing that you just don't, you might not even play another game. And now they're sitting there. They packed their bags. They packed their bags to be gone for a week, and they have to go back home and figure out packing their apartments up. Now they're not extending their lease for another month. It's a feeling that I would never wish on my worst enemy.
Although I will say this, the Ken Rosenthal line that was recited a couple times last week, our Foul Territory senior insider said, if you don't like it,
play better.
Play better. You lost 5 of 7 down the stretch. You had an 8-run lead last Sunday, and you lost that game to Milwaukee. You add it all up, you fall a game short. The Mets and the Braves move on. The Mets have, in my mind, a little bit of a nightmare matchup against Milwaukee because they were, 17 for 17 against them in stolen bags this year in their series. 18 for 18. Sorry for slighting them one. And then the Braves match up with the Padres. But before we push it forward, let's go back for a moment. Game 2 was what I expected it to look like. It looked like a getaway day, although I thought the Braves would have a little more punch in them. They made Joey Lucchesi look pretty damn good. Grant Holmes was replacing Chris Sale, who's got a back issue. He's got back spasms. But are we sure that wasn't Chris Sale's clone in terms of production? Because Grant Holmes was mowing down a Mets lineup that gave it their all and were out of gas and playing for nothing in game 2.
He had Chris Sale's pitches with Teddy Power's hair. But you sit there and you go, what a disappointment. What a disappointment that Chris Sale can't go. And nothing against Holmes. The guy pitched yesterday. He pitched yesterday and he gave them 4 perfect, I think. I think it was perfect until Pete got that base hit to right.
Yeah, that was the first hit for sure. And he didn't have any walks. I don't think he hit anyone. So, yeah, he was dealing until the 5th. That
is gutty performance. And he was facing a decent no Lindor, no Francisco Alvarez. That was the Mets lineup for the most part. And maybe they got into the bubbly a little bit, but they were chasing that slider just like you're seeing in the videos here. He was just throwing it below the zone, and they were like, we're going to swing because we got to get to Milwaukee soon. Man, what an outing by him for that team in that spot, back-to-back days. Awesome.
But you're right. The quicker you swing, the quicker this game ends, and the quicker we go to Milwaukee to get ready for a game on Tuesday night, and they'll play up to 3 in a row here in the wild card series for the Mets. And for the Braves, their offense was kind of quiet. It's been a problem for them, Kratz, all year. It hasn't been as dynamic of an offense. Now, they're one of the few teams in my mind that can truly use the injury excuse. Their best player is Ronald Acuna Jr. Their second best player arguably is Austin Riley, right? Or at least top 3 or 4.
This year?
Yeah, you're missing the big chunks. I mean, Olsen's there. Ozuna, I guess you could make the case, is the second best hitter on the team this year. And he came through big. Actually, I mean, he was the guy that gave them a little bit of breathing room later on in the game. Here's Urshela, right, giving them the 1-0 advantage. Just a little drop into left center. And then later on, Ozuna adds 2 more. That was it. I mean, that was all the offense right here. That was a good smack, pass short. Otherwise, 3-0. Braves take it. And this is a team that's going to have to win this way a little bit more than they have in the past anyway, Kratz. Like, if they're going to make a run, it's going to have to be Max Fried absolutely dominating, entering the contract, or in the contract year, entering the offseason as a free agent, looking like he did last start against Kansas City where he was mowing them down. You're going to need to see more of that from Schwellenbach, who was sick in game 1, and then hopefully Sale comes back. We don't know his status, right? I mean, he still could pitch in this wild card series.
Just seems extended. His last start, his velocity was down. Then they pushed him a little bit. Then it was pushed to today if they need it. And then he didn't go. So I don't think they ever had I don't think he was ever going to go. I don't think the Braves were like ambushed by that when they lost game 1, like, oh, he can't go. I don't think he was ever going to go. They were just trying to hide it. But I hope that means they'll be able to get him ready for one of these games. I mean, it'd be great if he'd be ready for tomorrow. I mean, that's best case scenario, but back spasms are different for everybody.
Yeah. By the way, if you want more on the Mets or the Braves in the FT network, we have Metsed up. So check that out. And you see the little QR code on the bottom of the screen right now. The show's free. Podcast, YouTube channel, the whole deal. And then we've got our Braves show, Hammer Territory, which will cover this game and this day at length. Here's Alex. Would not be surprised. Yeah, about Sale.
I would be surprised.
Sale for tomorrow. You would be surprised, right? I got some texts from some friends. They're like, is there something to this strategically? They know they're going to win, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, you can't do that. They were like, is he not really hurt? I'm like, no, I think he's really hurt. Not really.
Sorry,
style
Gito.
to do that. Yeah, they also wouldn't have to lie about it and be like, oh, Sale's not pitching. It's not like a phantom DL or IL situation. If they didn't want to pitch him for some reason, they wouldn't have pitched him. But, I mean, yeah, he's dealing with a back issue. But, dude, that game 1, was one of the better games I've seen in a minute. The late heroics from the Mets. Francisco Lindor looked like he was near tears. I'm just saying it in an emotions point of view. I mean, he's going through a lot. He's clearly in pain. He's not 100% with the back, but I mean, he hit a homer on Sunday in a must-win game for them, and then he hits a homer late in this one to make the difference. Here's Nimmo with a home run that ended up making a huge difference, right? Joe Jimenez ended up getting beat up. Schwellenbach dominated them. That made it 6-3, and then the Braves have the 4-run catch-up inning of their own, which includes Edwin Diaz not covering first base in a play that would probably get yourself benched on Kratz's high school baseball team, right?
You got to do the basics. There was a lot of basics things that weren't done, and it gives me a little bit of trepidation. I'm a little nervous about picking either of these two teams moving on from here because they're just not doing the basic things that come tomorrow night when those lights are a little brighter. You sit there and you go, you got to back up home on who was it that didn't back up home? I forget. It was in the second game. Didn't back up home. Ended up not hurting them. Tyron Taylor, he made a nice throw, but it ended up not getting away. Diaz didn't back up home plate. Diaz better be careful. No celebrations post saves.
Well, no bubbly. You're allowed to celebrate, right? You're talking about the league.
Last celebration for World Baseball Classic.
Oh, that celebration.
Just
I get you.
Pump the brakes.
That's true. I thought you were talking about the league telling both teams that they couldn't pop champagne until after both games were done, which makes sense. I mean, we're not trying to watch drunk players play baseball, on one side. So they were letting them wait, but that makes sense. Now they're both celebrating at the same time. But yeah, here we go. I mean, hey, Edwin, what?
Never have I seen it. I've never seen two teams celebrating. Like right now, after the game's just ended. They're both celebrating. I've seen teams clinch, but the one team's like, yeah, we clinched, but it was because of a loss somewhere else. Both these teams went into plastic and champagne. I mean, it's historic. You're not going to see it. You're not going to see it any other time. It is so rare.
Yeah, a lot of people love it because it's so baseball. Obviously, Diamondback fans hate it. And I think there was a lesson learned here. We covered a little bit on the show today, but you don't wait to reschedule an April game, a rainout, until the last week of the season. And then if you do, and you see there could be a weather issue of any kind, and obviously this is a ballpark that doesn't have any roof protection, you've got to make adjustments and let yourself get burned where you're like, oh, look, we didn't end up getting rain. Hurricane went a different direction, right? But really, they had a lane. Monday, both teams were off. This is last Monday, right? A week from today. And then they could have tried to play a doubleheader on Tuesday, even if they ended up having an issue kind of later on. But they would have gotten the doubleheader off, actually, because they played on Tuesday. So Wednesday and Thursday was the problem. So to leave yourself not just one game, but 2 games was really wild. 1 game alone is crazy. 2 games that they had to play really was the perfect storm. But it ended up working out for both teams, so they'll take it. So I give props there to both teams for getting the job done, doing what they needed to do. But anything else from that first game? Because, I mean, yeah, Raisel Iglesias coming in, who's been lights out for them, giving up that home run. I mean, I think he had given up 1 home run in his prior 26 appearances. And then the Braves do what they do, and Lindor has the huge home run to take the lead back, the huge 2-run home run. Then here's the part I wanted to point out. Last thing for me on game 1. Edwin Diaz was not going to go back out, right? They were like, nah, you're not pitching, you know? And then he goes, so Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach, apparently said, you're not pitching. Then he goes to Mendoza and he's like, I'm pitching. And Mendoza's like, and he's like, no, I'm pitching. Give me the damn ball. So he went back out and he shut down the Braves in the 9th. Crazy. After throwing, I think, 26 pitches on Sunday, and he pops up for another 5 outs here in this game after blowing a save and then getting the job done and picking up the dub. Yeah, I got this shit, is what he said.
Nope. He had never thrown more than 30 pitches in a game, and he went 26 this season. Coming off of major knee injury, never didn't do it, and he pitched. He threw 26. He threw today, went back out. It ended up being a 4-out save or a 5-out save.
5. I think it was. Well, it's not a save because you blew the save, so it's a win.
I'm right.
Today.
I'm right. 5-out inning. 5-out out.
But it was 5. It was 5. They let him in with 1 out in the 8th.
And that's
just
where
a wild game, man.
My key for that game, Ozzie Albies put together an unbelievable at-bat right on right. And we're going to talk about it in the playoffs. We're going to talk about it starting tomorrow. He looked better against Edwin Diaz, a closer, right on right, than he did against Lucchesi in the second game, right on left. Like, it was such an awesome at-bat. I know they didn't win the game. I know it didn't have any impact. But I thought that was something that a little bit more thump from the right side for them with him in that lineup could push the Braves. He's going to be coming up in big spots. He's going to hit second in their lineup for the rest of the playoffs, and it's going to be a big spot. Another guy that just hit his 10th home run. They had 11 guys with 10 home runs this season. So the Braves, while they don't have last year's lineup, they still can score some runs.
Yeah. So who do you think has a better chance of pulling off an upset here, coming off a very grueling one day in Atlanta? Is it the Braves against the Padres or the Mets against the Brewers? I feel like we're actually going to agree on this one, but I'll let you go first.
I have to choose one, right? Because I feel like both those teams just beat each other up, and now they got to go get beat up again tomorrow. But I'm going to say the Braves. I'm going to say the Braves have the best chance because I really think they're pitching. Even if Sale doesn't go, Reynaldo Lopez threw an inning in the second game. We completely glossed over that. Reynaldo Lopez on his bullpen day threw. I think they have the best shot. I get it. They have Mets have Sean Manaea. They have Severino. But you're sitting there going, Max Fried can take over a game. Sean Manaea has taken over games, but Max Fried can take over a game. And the guy that's kind of in the background of all this has the most playoff experience of anybody that's on any of the rosters, Charlie Morton. So if you get to a game 3 and you need Morton to throw, I don't think that's how it'll work out. if I'm thinking right, because I think it'll probably be, no, Schwellenbach. It could be Morton. I don't know. Either way, it could be Lopez. Either way, they are deep in starting pitching. And the bullpen had a hiccup in the first game, but it is a really, really good bullpen.
Hey, we're going to step aside for a quick second. We're going to keep this post-game show rolling and prep you for the postseason too. But let's give a little shout out to Huel. Cheers. We get it. Mornings are nuts. No time for breakfast, but you need to get your day started right.
What if a delicious, nutritious meal could be ready in seconds? Support for Foul Territory is brought to you by Huel, the world's #1 complete nutrition brand. With over 400 million meals sold worldwide, Huel is trusted by millions of people looking to fuel their days with convenient, complete nutrition. Try it for yourself with this exclusive FT offer. 15% off with the code FOUL at Huel.com.
You know we're all about saving time, but we get hangry, like a lot. I recently fell in love with the Huel Ultimate Super Greens Powder, which is a perfect blend of 91 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients. I also love their complete nutrition bars, and those hot and savory pouches are fire too.
FT fam, give it a shot. Get 15% off with the code FOUL at HUEL.com. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. Cheers. While I take a sip, yes, I want to remind everyone we're going to be doing quite a few post-game shows. We'll do them for all the World Series. We'll do them for a good chunk of LCS games. We'll do them for some DS, maybe a wild card. Obviously, we're not going to overlap on top of games sometimes, but just stay tuned. FT will keep you posted on how many of these post-game shows we do. We'll do as many as we can. I know there's a different audience for us sometimes here at night too versus our daytime live audience. So if you don't usually get to watch the show live, what's up? Pruszinski will be with us for some of these, some of our other friends like Todd Father as well. But if you have questions, we'll try to get to some of those too. But yeah, let's spin it forward here. Let's not do our full predictions and play out the whole bracket because we do have a 2-hour Foul Territory tomorrow where we'll cover that, Kratz. But now that the bracket is fully set, anything else stand out to you? I mean, this is going to be the crazy part because you're looking at half of the wild card games being set up with teams that just went through an absolute grind. I mean, both teams really, but let's focus on the Mets first, who are partying in the clubhouse here. They will ruin that clubhouse, but they were the ones that had to then fly to ATL and do this, and then now fly up to Milwaukee, where the Braves at least were sitting at home getting ready to welcome in the Mets after that Royals series. So it is a lot of travel. I know it's big league travel and the whole deal, but you can speak to this. With the schedule they had in the past week, it's a lot. And it ends up being, I think if they play the 3 games here in a wild card series, I think it's like 8 games in 7 days, something crazy with a ton of cities and all of that. Our friend Jason Stark is usually the numbers guy. Will say, 4 cities, 56 hours, blah, 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 3 games, all that. It's insane. So what are they going through right now?
I mean, it's euphoria. They're in it. They are in the dance. Everybody's going to say, oh, they're going to be exhausted. They're going to be this and that. You get a different shot of adrenaline when the Mets go into American Insurance Family Life Field, whatever it's called now. You sit there and you go, there's something different here. It feels like the first day of the season where nothing hurts. I know Francisco Alvarez back hurts. I know Lindor's back hurts. I know guys have ailing things. But they're coming into that stadium just like the Braves are coming into San Diego, and the place is going to be rocking. And they are going to know what they've been through, but they're not going to feel it. They're not going to feel it. When they're going to feel it is the end of October or in 3 days when they lose. That's when they feel it. That's when you're going to sit there and go, oh. I remember every postseason, I would sleep for 12 to 15 hours the next day. And it was just because you're just on. Like you wake up and you're thinking about the game. It's so hard to turn it off. You get to the park early. You're ready to go. I think that celebration by the Mets, we just saw the video of it. I think it's awesome. They can't really enjoy it totally, but it will help them maybe take a nap on the plane if they're really exhausted.
Right. You got to watch your intake. I mean, no joke. right? Like you can't do your all-out celebration because if you go too hard, most likely you're going to be going back home pretty quick, you know? I mean, you don't get your hangover game. Hey, I nailed my bets this year on hangover games.
So
Almost
you're gonna
every
push
game
it?
after a clinch party. What, with this?
You're gonna double down on it?
No, because this is different, right? This isn't a hangover game. This is different.
I agree.
Hangover games are I clinch, I celebrate really hard. Next day, I don't care, and most of my lineup's not in there. That is not the case at all here, right? This is different. I mean, this loss, if it comes in game one, will be exhaustion, but also you can ride a starting pitcher. Luis Severino can have a day, right? He's starting game one for the Mets. He gives you 7 shutout innings. Doesn't matter. So Alex said, party at 7:30. At what time are they getting into Milwaukee and San Diego? I think it's a quick party, Kratz. What? It's 30 minutes and pack your stuff up and let's go.
It's probably busing 45. Busing
Okay.
45. They're in Atlanta right now, so they're gonna hit mad traffic. They'll probably get a police escort. Airport's decent away, so I bet they get into Milwaukee by 10. If they're lucky, 10, 10:30, you get a little room service, you watch your highlights, and you get ready to face the Brewers. You just played the Brewers, so you should know what they have. You know, it wasn't in the last month that they played, so they're ready to go in that sense. Now the Braves, they have a tougher travel. Going out to San Diego, they're not getting in until probably 12 or 1.
Yeah, it's a long flight out there, and they'll go matching up against Michael King. I don't know if it's Freddie Peralta. So right, Freddie Peralta against Luis Severino in that game one for the Mets and the Brewers. They'll finish with a little note. For the first time since 2007, both teams who made the previous World Series will not be in the postseason. So that's something you already would know if you were following Foul Territory on Twitter and our social media accounts. But yeah, it's been a long time since we saw the hangover effect on both teams. And also, let's remember, the Diamondbacks ended up with how many? 88, 89 wins? It's a pretty strong year. So for people that were knocking the third wild card, these teams performed pretty well. That's a nice number. If I told you that win total for the Diamondbacks before the season started, which was probably over their win total from BetMGM, you'd be like, cool, they're in the playoffs. They didn't win the division. I didn't expect them to. Dodgers did. And you'd be like, okay, but the National League's good. That's the thing. You didn't have 100-win teams for a reason. There is some parity in the National League this year. So anyway, we're going to do this a ton. So we hope you enjoyed it. We're still covering all the news going on, which has been pretty rampant with firings and even finding out who's going to be new president of baseball operations for the Giants, Buster Posey. We've got clips if you check out other videos on our YouTube channel. For Kratz, I'm Braun. We've got live Foul Territory every day still, running through the entire postseason on weekdays 1 to 3, and we'll see you for some of these post-game shows. Thanks for watching.